We often believe that success is about accumulation, gathering more knowledge, more skills, more connections, more wealth. But what if the real key to success lies not in what we gain, but in what we're willing to let go? Napoleon Hill, author of the classic Think and Grow Rich, teaches that success isn't just about striving forward, it's also about releasing the beliefs, fears, and habits that silently hold us back. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means clearing the path for growth. In this journey, you won't just learn how to achieve more, you'll learn how to let go wisely, so that success can finally flow in. Letting go of limiting beliefs. What if I told you that the biggest obstacle to your success isn't out there in the world, but inside your own mind? Every single day, we walk around with invisible chains. These chains are not made of steel or iron. They are made of thoughts, quiet, persistent, and often inherited from others. These are the limiting beliefs we carry, and they are the first thing we must let go of if we want to succeed. Napoleon Hill, in Think and Grow Rich, taught us that thoughts are powerful. He wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But here's the hidden truth, the opposite is also true. Whatever the mind believes it cannot achieve, it won't even try. Limiting beliefs are thoughts that whisper, "You're not smart enough. You didn't come from the right background. People like you don't get rich. It's too late for you." These thoughts don't shout. They don't argue. They just sit there quietly, shaping your actions or inactions. They tell you to play it safe, to settle, to wait. And slowly, without even noticing, you begin to live beneath your potential. Where do these beliefs come from? Sometimes, they are planted in childhood. Maybe someone told you weren't good enough, and you believed them. Sometimes, they come from society, which tells us success is for the lucky few. And sometimes, we build them ourselves, brick by brick, after a failure, a disappointment, or a rejection. But here's the good news, beliefs are not facts. They are choices. And like any choice, they can be changed. To let go of limiting beliefs, we must first become aware of them. Pay attention to the inner voice that speaks up when you dream big. What does it say? What fear does it trigger? What excuse does it offer? That voice may sound like you, but it's not your truth. It's just your programming. Let me give you a real-world example. Napoleon Hill interviewed hundreds of successful people, men like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Carnegie. Many of them came from humble beginnings. Ford was born on a farm. Edison had almost no formal education. What separated them from others wasn't luck or privilege, it was belief. They refused to accept the mental ceiling others tried to place over them. Ford once said, "Whether you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right." That's not just a clever saying. It's a principle of life. Your belief shapes your effort, and your effort shapes your outcome. So how do we replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones? First, challenge them. When a belief like "I'm not good enough" shows up, ask yourself, says who? Where did that belief come from? What evidence do you have that it's absolutely true? You'll often find that the belief is based on a moment of pain, not on a universal truth. Second, rewrite your beliefs. Don't just silence the old voice, replace it with a new one. Begin to affirm empowering thoughts, such as, "I am capable of learning anything I need. My past does not define my future." Every great success story started with a decision to believe. These may sound simple, but repeated often enough, they start to take root. Just as limiting beliefs were formed through repetition and emotion, empowering beliefs can be too. Third, surround yourself with people who reflect your highest potential, not your past limitations. Hill called this the power of the mastermind, a group of individuals who encourage each other's growth. When you're around people who believe in you, you begin to believe in yourself. You absorb their energy, their vision, their belief in what's possible. Finally, take action, even if it's small. Action builds evidence. And evidence builds belief. Each time you try something new, step outside your comfort zone, or accomplish something you didn't think you could, you chip away at the old belief and strengthen a new one. Letting go of limiting beliefs isn't easy. Sometimes it feels like letting go of a part of your identity. But understand this, that old identity was built for survival, not success. You don't need it anymore. What you need is the courage to step into a new version of yourself, a version that believes, acts, and creates without invisible chains. Your future is not determined by your current circumstances. It is shaped by what you choose to believe about those circumstances. You can either see them as walls or as raw materials for your next breakthrough. So today, I challenge you, take an honest look at what you believe about yourself, about success, and about what's possible for your life. Identify one belief that has been holding you back, and let it go. Replace it with a truth that serves your highest potential. Because once you let go of who you think you can't be, you'll finally become who you were always meant to be. Letting go of fear. If limiting beliefs are the silent chains that bind us, then fear is the loud voice that stops us in our tracks. Fear doesn't just whisper. It paralyzes. It exaggerates. It creates 1,000 worst-case scenarios, and then convinces you they're inevitable. Napoleon Hill understood this better than most. In Think and Grow Rich, he identified the 6 basic fears that sabotage human potential: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. These fears, Hill explained, are not born with us, they are learned. And because they are learned, they can also be unlearned. Fear, at its core, is a liar. It's a voice that says, don't try. Don't speak. Don't risk. Stay small. Stay safe. But the truth is, the safest place is rarely where growth happens. Safety and success rarely live on the same street. Let's talk about the most common fear of all, the fear of failure. How many ideas have died before they were ever tested, simply because someone was afraid it wouldn't work? How many dreams have been buried alive because someone feared embarrassment, rejection, or falling short? But failure, when embraced, is not an end. It's a teacher. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not just optimism, it's a mindset. It's the mindset that success requires. Another powerful fear is the fear of criticism, the fear of what others will say. This fear keeps people from starting businesses, from speaking up, from being authentic. But here's the truth, people will judge you no matter what you do. So why not be judged for being bold? For chasing your purpose? For living your truth? Then there's the fear of poverty, a fear that keeps us clinging to jobs we hate, staying small, and making decisions based on desperation instead of vision. But Hill reminds us, wealth is not just material. It begins in the mind. A poverty-conscious mind cannot attract abundance. Letting go of this fear doesn't mean you become reckless, it means you start thinking from a place of possibility, not scarcity. So how do we let go of fear? First, face it. Name it. Write it down. Bring it into the light. Fear feeds on vagueness. When you identify the specific fear that's holding you back, you take away its power. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? And what's the worst that could actually happen? You'll often discover that the fear is far more dramatic in your mind than in reality. Second, move anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of fear. The most successful people are not fearless. They just refuse to be controlled by fear. They feel the fear and then they move forward anyway. They understand that progress lies on the other side of discomfort. Third, reframe failure. Instead of seeing failure as something to avoid, begin to see it as something to collect. Every failed attempt brings you one step closer to mastery. Every rejection refines your message. Every stumble strengthens your resilience. The people who win are not the ones who never fail, they're the ones who never quit. Fourth, strengthen your faith. Napoleon Hill was very clear on this, faith is the antidote to fear. Not just religious faith, though that may be part of it, but a deep, unshakable belief that you are guided, that your vision matters, and that your efforts will bear fruit. Faith gives you the courage to walk through fear, even when the path ahead isn't fully visible. Finally, visualize success more vividly than you visualize fear. Most people unconsciously rehearse failure, they picture it, obsess over it, and prepare for it. What if you reverse that? What if you rehearsed success in your mind daily, saw it, felt it, believed it? Your brain can't tell the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. Use that power. Letting go of fear doesn't mean fear disappears forever. It means you stop letting it drive. You can acknowledge it, but you no longer take direction from it. Because here's the truth, every dream worth having will require you to walk through fear. There is no version of your highest self that doesn't involve risk. But there is also no version of true success without courage. So ask yourself today, what would I do if fear wasn't in control? What decision would I make? What conversation would I have? What leap would I take? And then, take it. Let go of fear, not because you'll never feel it again, but because you have something greater to live for. Let go of fear so you can finally step into the life that's been waiting on the other side of it. Letting go of toxic relationships. You can have the clearest vision, the strongest mindset, and the boldest goals, but if you surround yourself with the wrong people, you will always be swimming upstream. The people in your life are either fueling your growth or draining your potential. There is no neutral ground. Napoleon Hill emphasized the importance of what he called the mastermind, a group of individuals who come together in harmony, working toward a common purpose, exchanging ideas, encouragement, and energy. He wrote, "No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind." What does that mean? It means that the people you spend the most time with are shaping your thinking, your energy, and ultimately, your future. Now here's the hard truth, some of us are still holding on to relationships, friendships, partnerships, even family ties, that are built not on growth, but on guilt, fear, or habit. We keep people in our lives because we've known them for years, or because we're afraid of what will happen if we let go. But time is not a measure of value. Just because someone's been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they belong in your future. Ask yourself, who in my life truly supports my growth? Who challenges me to rise higher, to think bigger, to be better? And who makes me shrink, doubt, or settle? Toxic relationships don't always look toxic at first. Sometimes they're cloaked in sarcasm, disguised as jokes that cut you down. Sometimes they come in the form of passive discouragement, subtle comments that remind you to be realistic or not get your hopes up. Other times, it's the friend who celebrates your setbacks more than your successes, or the partner who fears your growth because it threatens their control. Letting go of these relationships isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of clarity. You are not responsible for carrying everyone with you. Growth requires elevation, and elevation requires release. You cannot soar while holding on to what keeps you grounded in doubt, fear, and limitation. So how do we let go? First, be honest with yourself. It's easy to make excuses for people, they mean well, they've been through a lot, or that's just how they are. But growth demands truth. If someone is consistently pulling you down, undermining your dreams, or creating chaos in your life, you have to name it for what it is. Second, set boundaries. Letting go doesn't always mean cutting people off completely. In some cases, it means redefining the relationship. It means limiting your time, energy, and emotional access to those who cannot or will not support your journey. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors you control. You decide who gets to come through. Third, find your mastermind. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who stretch your thinking, who live in alignment with where you want to go, or not where you've been. This doesn't happen by accident. You must seek it intentionally. Attend events, join communities, start conversations. Be the kind of person others want in their mastermind, too. Fourth, grieve if you need to. Letting go is hard, even when it's necessary. Some relationships once served a purpose. Some were built on love that simply no longer aligns with your path. Honor that past, but don't let it dictate your future. Growth always involves a little loss, and that's okay. Most importantly, understand this: you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. The more you tolerate small thinking, negativity, or disrespect, the more you invite it into your life. But the moment you raise your standard, your circle begins to shift. When you walk away from toxic relationships, you don't just make room for better people, you make room for a better you. You begin to see your worth more clearly. You hear your own voice more loudly. You align with the energy and environment that fuels your purpose. So ask yourself today, what relationships are no longer serving the person I'm becoming? Who drains my energy more than they feed it? And what am I willing to let go of so I can finally rise? Remember, success is never a solo journey. But who you walk with matters more than how fast you walk. Choose wisely. Let go bravely. And trust that as you release the wrong people, the right ones will find you. Letting go of procrastination and indecision. You can have the right mindset, the right vision, and the right people around you, but if you never take action, none of it matters. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Procrastination, the opposite of decision, is a common enemy which practically every man must conquer." In his years of studying successful people, Hill found that one trait separated the achievers from the dreamers: decisive action. They made decisions quickly and changed them slowly. They didn't wait for the perfect moment, they created the moment. Procrastination is one of the most deceptive forms of self-sabotage. It convinces you that you're being patient, cautious, or waiting for the right time. But underneath it is often fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. You tell yourself, "I just need to think about it a little longer. I'll start when I'm ready. I need more information." But weeks turn into months. Months into years. And before you know it, you've become someone who's always about to begin. Indecision is just as dangerous. When you can't make a choice, you forfeit your power. Life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. While you hesitate, someone else takes action. While you overthink, someone else takes the risk, and often, the reward. So why do we procrastinate? Why do we hesitate? Because action demands responsibility. When you move, you commit. When you decide, you cut off other options. And that can be terrifying. But here's the paradox: not deciding is deciding. Not acting is an action. And it almost always leads to regret. Think about this: some of the most life-changing decisions you'll ever make won't feel perfect when you make them. You might feel nervous. You might feel unsure. But success rarely feels comfortable at the start. So how do we let go of procrastination and indecision? First, stop waiting for clarity, create it. Clarity comes from motion, not meditation. You won't figure it all out before you begin. But when you start moving, writing the first page, making the first call, taking the first step, clarity follows. Action leads to insight. Not the other way around. Second, break the illusion of someday. Someday is not a day of the week. It's not on the calendar. And it's not coming to rescue you. If something matters to you, it belongs on your schedule, not your wish list. Set a deadline. Make it real. Third, simplify the decision-making process. Too many options lead to paralysis. Instead of trying to choose the perfect path, ask, what's the next right step I can take today? You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. Fourth, accept that mistakes are part of movement. Don't fear the wrong decision. Fear no decision. Because even a wrong step teaches you something, and often, that lesson brings you closer to the right one. The only thing worse than failing is never trying at all. Fifth, use momentum to your advantage. Start with small wins. Clean the workspace. Send the email. Schedule the meeting. These small actions generate energy. And energy is what breaks the cycle of procrastination. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of definiteness of decision. Without it, desire fades. Plans dissolve. Confidence weakens. But with it, you build a reputation with yourself. You start to trust your own voice. And others begin to trust it too. So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment, let this be your sign: there is no perfect moment. There is only now. Now is when you choose to become the person who moves. Now is when you trade excuses for momentum. Now is when you stop hesitating and start creating. Look back on your life. Most of your growth didn't come from waiting. It came from doing something before you felt fully ready. It came from saying yes, showing up, and figuring it out along the way. Letting go of procrastination and indecision is not just about time management. It's about self-leadership. It's about trusting that your future deserves more than your hesitation. It deserves your full commitment. So ask yourself today: what am I delaying that I already know I need to do? What dream, what goal, what step have I postponed out of fear? And what would my life look like if I let go of hesitation and simply moved? Because success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who act. Success is not just about what you gain, it's about what you're willing to let go of. You've now seen that letting go is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's an act of strength, intention, and liberation. It's choosing growth over comfort, clarity over confusion, and purpose over fear. You let go of limiting beliefs to reclaim the truth about your potential. You let go of fear to move boldly toward your dreams. You let go of toxic relationships to protect your energy and your purpose. You let go of procrastination and indecision to finally move from vision to reality. In each case, the common thread is this: success requires space. Space to think clearly. Space to act bravely. Space to become who you were always meant to be. Napoleon Hill taught us that success begins in the mind. But the mind cannot build greatness if it's cluttered with doubt, fear, resentment, and hesitation. It needs discipline. It needs direction. And above all, it needs freedom, freedom from the things that no longer serve the life you are building. So as you leave this message behind, take a moment to reflect, not on what you still need to add, but on what you're finally ready to release. Because sometimes, the greatest leap forward begins with letting go.